Hi, welcome to Tiny Teacup Reads. Thank you for being here. Now, I'm not a big crier when it comes to reading books. I usually don't like to read books that are advertised as being sad, but it does happen sometimes. And I think it's a good sign. It means that I've really connected with a character. And today, I wanted to share with you the 8 books that have made me cry. First up is Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. I read this as a child, and it was the first book that ever made me cry. I have a very vivid memory of reading this while lying on my parents' bed when I was about 10 years old and getting to the end and just absolutely sobbing. This is a children's book about a boy and his 2 dogs, and it is very cute and sweet right up until the end where it absolutely rips your heart out. Next up is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. If you were a young adult in 2012 like I was, then you will know the absolute chokehold that this book had on everyone. This is a book about a teenage girl who has cancer and the relationship she has with the boy that she meets in a support group. I won't spoil it and tell you how it ends, but it did make me weep the first time that I read it. Then we have The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. This is one of my favorite books, but I can't reread it too often because as gorgeous as it is also equally devastating. It is about a young girl who lives in Germany during the Second World War, and that premise alone should tell you why it is so heartbreaking. It also has one of the most unique narrators in any book I've ever read. It is narrated by Death. That's him right there. It is so good, an absolute 5-star, but it always makes me cry. But it is worth it. If you read any book on this list, make it this one. Next up is Room by Emma Donoghue. This is the most recent read on my list. It is about a mother and her 5-year-old son who are held captive in a small room. The boy is born in this room and doesn't know that there's anything outside it, and he is also the narrator of the story. I think that was a really great choice by the author and very well done. He doesn't always know what's going on, but we as the readers do, and it is heartbreaking to see how his mother tries to keep him safe and happy in this incredibly tough situation. There were many scenes in this book that made me emotional, but the one scene that really made me cry was the one where he and his mother tried to escape. I won't spoil it and say if they make it or not because I think you should read this for yourself, but the whole scene was so tense that I just burst into tears when it was done. Next up is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. This was another one that was really popular about 10 years ago. It is one of those that is intentionally heart-wrenching though. You're supposed to cry at this, but it worked. I did. It is about a young woman who becomes the carer of a disabled man and they fall in love. It's another one of those that seems all sweet and fun until the very end when it punches you in the gut. Then we have The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. This is the only book that I've ever read by this author. Because as wonderful as this book is, it is absolutely a 5-star read. It also broke my heart, and I don't think that I'm emotionally ready to read anything else that he's done because I hear that they are similar. This is about a young boy in Afghanistan while his country is going through a massive upheaval. He is the son of a wealthy family and is friends with the servant's boy. It's already tough to read a story about a child whose country is being devastated, but when you add that relationship between the 2 boys and everything that happens, you end up with a lot of tears. 9 Perfect Strangers by Liane Moriarty. Okay, listen, I have to preface this by saying I think it was just a certain time of the month when I was reading it that made me super emotional, because it's not actually a very sad book. It is about a bunch of different people who attend a sort of wellness retreat, but one of the families has lost a son and brother to suicide, which is always an incredibly tough subject to read. So I read this on holiday, and I remember being in my room sobbing at a certain scene, and then wiping my tears and going down to the beach. Last on this list is Anne of Green Gables by Lucy M. Montgomery. I have one of the sequels here. This is a childhood favorite that never made me cry until I was older and reread it as an adult. It is about a young orphan girl who has never had a real home. She's only ever been passed around from people who don't really want her and just try to get rid of her as soon as possible. She then gets adopted by a brother and a sister, and it is her relationship with her adopted parents that makes me so emotional when I read this. The idea of a child who is lonely and unwanted and then manages to find a family and people who love her and accept her even when she's loud and even when she gets in trouble, and see just how special she is, that really just hits me right there. There's one scene especially that I think is so beautiful. Her adoptive father, Matthew, who is this painfully shy and very socially anxious person, goes out and buys her the dress of her dreams, a beautiful dress with puffed sleeves. It is something that she's never had before because a dress like that is very expensive and she has always been given just the bare minimum to keep her alive. But Matthew goes out and spends his own money to get this dress for her because he loves her. And I think it's just such a gorgeous moment that a man like that who struggles to put his feelings into words puts them into action instead, and that Anne knows just how special this is. It makes me emotional just to talk about it, and I wanted to end this list with a book that made me happy cry. And to end, I have 4 honorable mentions, books that didn't make me cry but had me close to it. We have Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, the last book in the Hunger Games series, Mockingjay. If you've read this, you know. Atonement by Ian McEwan, and The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman. But what about you? Do you tend to cry during books, or do you not? Have you read any of these? Let me know in the comments below because I would love to see what you think. That's it from me for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope that I will see you in the next video. Bye!